Hello and welcome to the Biotech 2050 podcast. Biotech 2050 is a think tank chronicling the disruptions changing the biotech industry over the next several decades. Check out our website at biotech2050.com. I'm really excited today to host our first video podcast recording here at JPM 2026 in San Francisco. My name is Alok Tayi. I'm the co-host of Biotech 2050. My background is as a scientist and I run Vibe Bio. Vibe is an AI platform focused on strategic decisions in pharma. I'm really excited today to be joined by Johan Luthman, the EVP of R&D at Lundbeck. We're gonna have a very interesting dialogue here in person about his background and what brought him to Lundbeck today, their pipeline and potential, but then most importantly, what he thinks about the future of neuroscience and everything that's going on in the biotech world. Johan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to be here and to be your first movie star. It's a great opportunity, right? You can only approve it after this, right? Yeah,
indeed. Well,
yeah.
Maybe to kick us off, would love it if you can share a bit about your background, how you got to where you are today, and your journey to Lundbeck.
Happy to do that. Obviously I've been in the business for some time, and I worked in many different companies over the years, but I started up my career as a student in Stockholm, Sweden at the Karolinska Institute. I'm Swedish by background. And I studied dentistry, medicine, and also got a PhD in neuroscience at the Karolinska Institute. And I had no plans to go into industry. I was thinking about doing good deeds in medicine, maybe third world medicine, etc. I loved surgery. I did a lot of that stuff, and combining maxillofacial surgery and medicine. So that was my career. But I got that neuroscience PhD, and it was more basic science work. So it was cell work and animal work, etc. And ended up in a postdoc position in Denver, Colorado, in psychiatry pharmacology. And then I got a phone call from one of my former advisors who said, "Do you like to join what was then Astra?" And I said, no, thank you, I'm doing fine. A year later, he called me again in Denver. I was sitting in my office there doing some analytical work on some data, and now I had a baby.
Wow.
And I thought, going back, so I was planning going back to Sweden to finish my internship in medicine. And I thought, well, maybe I should make some good money some years and then go back and finish up. And here I am. Well over 30 years later, I never got back.
Yeah, there's still time.
Maybe. I'm probably not a good clinician, but it was fun being a clinician. But this was really, it's so appealing, right, to be in pharma. And, it takes a while to realize it's not academia. So some people go from academia into industry and they think, it's the same thing. Particularly if you're a lab researcher, you have the labs and it looks the same. But the mentality is very different. So I always warn people coming directly from academia into industry that, be aware that after 1 year, you will feel that when the honeymoon is over, you will be confused.
Yeah.
If you survive that second year, then you're going to do fine.
Yeah.
But so I was doing that, and so I joined Astra in preclinical labs and grew up. Initially did some psychiatry research, but also did neurology more and more, Alzheimer's disease, stroke work that was not so successful at the end. And lots of reorganization as things happen, and grew up and got more and more responsibilities. So I was leading fairly big departments preclinically in neuroscience, did neuroimmunology and other things. And then came the AstraZeneca merger and worked even higher positions during a few years there, and I was leading a pretty big neuroimmunology effort, MS, etc. And then I was told, and with the strategic marketing people came in and said, we looked at MS, it's a small market, we are not interested. And I thought, Jesus, what's happening here? So then I moved actually over. I was already at that time point also helping to build translation medicine. That was the pioneering days of that. But then I moved to Switzerland, to Geneva, and joined a company called Serono. And guess what? 5 years later, MS was a $16 billion market, and now it's much more, right? So that was my first move. I moved from what's then AstraZeneca to Serono, and it took a while. We got acquired by the German Merck, right? And I stayed a little while. I got a big job there, but leading early research, early development to phase 2 development there across big therapy areas, neurology, immunology, which was dermatology and rheumatology and other things. I wasn't overly happy, so I left and became a CEO of a small startup company, helping basically a seed stage company to become an independent company. In the meantime, I got contacted by some headhunter that asked me, do you like to join the other Merck, the US Merck, right? Merck Inc. or MSD. And I said, yeah, I'd really like to go back to the US. And Merck was kind of this fixed star. When I worked in Astra, there was this Astra-Merck collaboration, and we were always admiring the Merck people. They were so brilliant and smart, right? So I thought, they want me, little me, right? So I moved over to the US and joined Merck, and this was 2009. And I have many colleagues from that period that I still interact with. It was a fabulous period to be in Merck, to be honest. Yeah. But a lot of changes there. So after 5 years, I had the option to go to Singapore with Merck or join ASI as head of development in Neuroscience up in New Jersey, and I opted for New Jersey. And that was probably a good choice because I was part of some really interesting journeys, including contributing very much into the lecanemab development, which eventually is a drug now on the market, the first full approval for disease modification in Alzheimer's disease. And then I got a phone call one day.
It seems like you get a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, well, things happen. I mean, I never planned my career, as you can hear. It just happens, right? And I'm willing to move. I think that's the advice I like to say. If you like to have a career, you should be willing to move. And that's not always easy. I have 2 daughters, and they grew up in different places, but I think they got international upbringing, and they like it. So I got this phone call about a job, head of R&D at Lundbeck. And that was resonating with me because I had, since I was in PhD school at Karolinska, known Lundbeck, and this is the fixed star in neuroscience. Yeah. When you talk about neuroscience in my business, you think about Lundbeck. So I was kind of flattered and I'm interested in this. So I took that job and moved to Denmark 7 years ago. And what I know also at that time point was that Lundbeck needed quite a lot of work. So the pipeline had not delivered so much over the years. The company worked long time, mainly psychiatry, delivered some really good, maybe better drugs, and did well, reasonably well, but the pipeline now had dried out, and psychiatry is hard. There are not so many drug targets. It's hard to de-risk early, and I really felt now we need to stop spending a lot of money and time in phase 3. Yeah. So I had to really start from scratch, which was fun. It was basically taking chapter 1 of the management book and say, well, we need a good strategy. I had really good help of the CEO at that time point, Deborah Dansayo. She came in just a little earlier than I came in, and she was the one hiring me, a great head of BD also. So we really got this thing going to change the company and really change the strategy entirely, which allowed me to really do things I think is more modern in neuroscience. So we bought very early in 2019 2 companies. One a smaller preclinical early stage company, but the big change was to acquire a company called Alder Biotherapeutics, which was something that was fundamental because I wanted to add monoclonal antibody technology into the company. We didn't really have any competence in that field, and all of a sudden we got a molecule that was migraine drug, really interesting. It was some risk because it was not really first in class, but it turned out it was quite unique in class. And I know that.
Highly differentiated.
I know because I worked in migraine a lot in Merck, so I know about migraine quite well and migraine prevention. That's one of those fields also when people say there's really no future in migraine. Prevention, triptans will be 10 cents a pill, there's no market. But I know from my work in Merck that this is going to be big. So we moved into that field and we acquired this company, and the slow uptake at the beginning, but now it's really the go-to drug for prevention of migraine.
Amazing.
And we also got other assets out of that were hidden back in the research labs, but we got some really good programs out of that. Two additional programs, one for migraine that is now in phase 2B, and then also a neuroendocrinology asset, ACTH. But we really said, now we do it differently. So I said, we need to really go biology. So let the biology speak. And that's mostly in research.
Yep.
And then we really have to do well in early development.
Let me just ask on that though. Obviously letting the biology lead makes a lot of sense, but in the field of neuroscience, there's often challenges in having really good in vitro models or those even in vivo that translate well. How do you think about those historical hurdles for what Lundbeck's aspiring to do?
Yeah, first of all, there is no disease model. You don't model disease, you model biological mechanism. Particularly if you're in the psychiatry field, don't believe you model depression in a rat or something. That doesn't really work. You need to go to the biological mechanism. So you really have to work with biology, and that gives you automatically a lot of biomarkers and ways to look at the biology. And then you have to believe that that biology links to the disease. And we have, genetic link and all these different things. Tangential validation, right? But that means that we don't work so much in psychiatry anymore, sadly. And I'm spending a lot of time getting to the biology of psychiatry, and there is some door opening. Immune system plays a very big role, and there's some interesting autoimmune diseases that leads to psychotic events and things like that. Probably much bigger things. So maybe some of what you believe is schizophrenia is actually autoimmune diseases against receptors.
The gut-brain axis.
Yeah, really cool and interesting area. So we try to get there. And then the other thing is when you go to development, sort things out early. So I say, let the molecule speak. And really make sure you have target occupancy and affect the biology after in humans. So we spend a lot of time doing phase 1b studies in patients. So when we go to phase 2, we often have a spotlight or whatever you call it. We have data that support that it's really working. And that's how we avoid, hopefully in the future, to spend too much money in phase 3 and fail. Because the biggest thing in our business is to avoid opportunity cost. My job is to avoid opportunity cost. And then, of course, find the gems among all these stones, right?
Indeed.
And that's where you really need to be very sharp. I have years of experience. I've been lucky to be part of, 15, 16 drugs that gone to the market. So I can really build on my experience, but we have to be much smarter in the future in decision making and really do this systematically. I often say R&D is not that hard, really. You just need to think. But it's hard to think in organizations. Other things come in and the jumbo jet takes off and you get distracted by other things, right? So you really have to always laser focus. What are the key ingredients, the flipping points? We do a lot of value inflection point analysis. How quickly can we increase the value of the asset for as little money as possible? And I think being short on money is not really a bad thing because you have to sharpen your thinking a lot.
Absolutely.
When I came to Lundbeck, 65% of the budget went into life cycle management. And not much went into R&D, to be honest. So I had 5, 6, 7% that went into innovation of revenue.
Wow.
And with that, we managed to build a quite interesting portfolio. So I'm very happy with the portfolio we have now, and it's maturing now. We of course done other acquisitions. We did the Longboard just before last year's Christmas.
And made a play for a few other...
we have been... we also very diligent in how we do things. We back up when it doesn't make sense. I think you're alluding to something we did quite recently. We're bidding together with others on an asset acquisition. But and that was in sleep medicine, an area where I'm very passionate about. And talking about translation from animals to man. Sleep medicine is animals sleep and the pattern you can model very well and what you see there, and you can de-risk very early in phase 1 for sleep medicine. So I've been part of 2 sleep medicine drugs that gone to the market for insomnia. I think now the orexin agonist field, for example, is super exciting. So sleep is going to be big, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. Awesome. Well, one of the things that you highlighted that really intrigues me is just the broader organizational decision-making around the portfolio, the strategy, what to pursue, what not to pursue. I'm sure there's many of your peers at other companies facing similar questions. Any advice you have for them, or what would be the salient kind of takeaways they should consider when thinking about similarly difficult choices?
Yeah, first of all, we work a lot with what we call the R&D productivity formula. We stole it happily from Lilly, I believe it came from originally, but it makes a lot of sense. And it's a formula that says R&D productivity relates on the upper side of the formula, number of assets you have, the PTRS, the probability technical regulatory success, and then you also have value on the market, right? And then on the bottom you have time and money. And I usually say time is critical, but the most important thing is PTRS, the probability technical risk. So always work to increase your probabilities and do that early. Let the molecule speak early, etc. So we've been systematically educating people about this. Money is actually the least interesting thing in that.
It flows from those
Yeah.
concepts,
So if you're the most impactful PTRS, and then time is critical. So that's what you push. Value on the market is actually the hardest thing to estimate. We're often very wrong with that. We have a lot of debates and it's hard to predict the market. But anyway, so you educate people. So if you want to avoid opportunity cost, educate people what drives opportunity cost, right?
Yeah.
And work hard with that. Then another thing, which may seem a little soft, but I sometimes say it's quite easy to be head R&D. You just need 3 things plus 1. You need to have the right people, you need to have the right assets, and you need to make the right decisions. And then you sit down and wait for luck, because luck plays. Our job is to optimize for luck. The most important part of this is actually people. And that's the hardest bit in our job, to really find the right people. And what is a right person? That we can debate. Technically the right training, yes. Nice CV, yes, that can be impressive, but I'm actually much more impressed about what people have done. But now we go to the decision quality of this. I have quite long experience. I go around with a lot of opinions, sometimes well-founded, sometimes more subjective. And I can be quite engaged in what I think is right and wrong, quite frankly. Can we take out the sweat in that? That would be great. And I think that's where AI comes in. And decision quality is going to be much more objective in the future and faster. And maybe partially replacing people with opinions like me. But so far, now it might change as I indicate, but so far experience trumps everything.
Totally.
I don't care about fancy titles and fancy university. Experience. What have people done? And what did they learn from it? Not learning from your mistakes is a crime. Doing mistakes is great, because that's how we learn. You're not born biking. You need to fall and scrap your knees and do things, right? That's the same in all things we do. The more mistakes you do, if you learn from them, the better you get. We have to make the mistakes at the right place, early, with less opportunity cost, etc. So that's how I like to drive decisions. We have done a lot of analytics on our portfolio, and we kind of value our portfolio. Sometimes that is limping a little bit because we are not a biotech. We live in a foundation, majority-owned company.
And I'd love to hear more about that, because I think it's a uniquely, both European but Danish specifically, right, structure. Give us some additional detail on that.
I think it's extremely interesting, this foundation structure. It comes with many benefits. There are some drawbacks, and I think they're not disagreeing with me when I say there are some drawbacks, but the main benefits here is that you have an owner that sits there for a long, long time. And it's the mixed blessing, but it's primarily a very good blessing. We are not getting acquired. They are not selling unless they're really desperate, and that has not happened. And you see other companies, Leo, Novo, they all have this foundation structure. And they have to bring good things back into the society. So in some manner, it's being a good citizen, a little bit more than a usual company. Because the money we earn goes into the foundation, and they provide grants and positions for academic researchers. You need to be Danish associated, that's the rules of the game. So contribute to the Danish society. That's a fabulous thing. Last year, I think 1 billion Danish krone went to researchers in Denmark. And then you have Norway and the other ones, right? So it's a lot of money. That really, Copenhagen is boiling hot these days. If you think Boston is hot, or Bay Area, whatever. Yeah, it's hot and it's hard to beat those areas. But Copenhagen is really doing well these days, that area. Really
amazing. I made my first trip to Copenhagen back in October to go to Noma. Beautiful city, and I could see the vibrancy of the youth and the innovation there. So,
but the foundation also, they have other things, right? They have the DC arm, so they also build companies. They are around the world. It's not just in Denmark, but it's really good deeds there to And then they have something I think is really nice, the Brain Prize, which is the Nobel Prize of Neuroscience. So when I was sitting there in the ASI getting an offer to join Lundbeck, I thought, this is a company I've known since I was a student, and they could do all these good things. So for me, it was an easy decision.
It's amazing to come full circle there.
Yeah.
So with that, now that you've kind of given us a sense of a lot of the shifts in the prospect of the portfolio, what does the growth look like for the organization in the next 5-10 years? How do you think about in-licensing, partnering, the portfolio? Love a couple thoughts there.
First of all, we work with what we have, and that's the portfolio. And we have had quite interesting changes in our portfolio. The last 4 years now, we had proof of concepts for novel mechanisms. Not once, but twice, depending how you count, maybe even 3 times. And if you think about it, that's the crown jewel of biopharma R&D. A new mechanism, hallelujah, it works in humans. That's a rare event, unfortunately, nowadays. Not many people are part of that journey. Lundbeck never done it before. We actually now start to do that routinely. So that tells you how high the innovation level we have, but also trying to do the right things, de-risking early and get to those proof of concepts. So we have a great portfolio with a lot of breakthrough opportunities. First in indication even. We work in multiple system atrophy, a horrible chronic neurodegenerative disease. We have a phase 3 going on, highly innovative Bayesian progression modeling of the statistics, first ever in neuroscience, if in a pivotal trial. So we do a lot of things with our portfolio. We work quite a bit in neuroendocrinology. It's nice because the readouts you have in phase 1 are often your phase 3 readouts.
Yeah, well.
Thyroid eye disease, Cushing's disease, congenital adrenal hyperplasia. We know these drugs are kind of working already at this stage, right? So we have a nice portfolio that we try to progress fast when it looks promising enough. We have the long board, rare epilepsies across the board, a very broad one mechanism across all these diseases. The long board acquisition fits very nicely in that. And other assets in migraine that are progressing, hopefully. So we have a higher end portfolio, definitely that's very rich that I have to invest in. Still, I'd say I don't care where molecules come from. And I don't think this internal, external innovation is a good description. Because quite frankly, everything is external.
Yeah.
If you sit in a lab, you read papers, you talk to other people. If you don't do that, you're not going to be successful. So everything at some stage comes from the outside. It just depends where you do that. If it comes in late phase 3, talk about acquisitions more, but everything in some manner acquired during the whole value pipeline. So we do this, and we acquire, yes, and we do a lot of early stage deal. We work much more with external innovation in our research groups, really reaching out, being very outward facing, early partnerships, early acquisitions. Then the ones you are probably more interested in are the big splash, the multi-billion-dollar. We are a small company, but we can afford a few billion, right? They make the headlines, and that's, pharma industry likes this, and at JP Morgan, we're very happy about talking about these things, right?
For sure.
But that's one tool in the toolbox, and we really follow our strategy. We have a focused innovator strategy. As our new CEO, Charles, he's been there for a while now, has brought this with us, and we are really very disciplined with this. We work in psychiatry still. We have drugs on the market, some of them with Otsuka, some with Takeda also partially. And we will get into that area if we find the right, more specialist treated asset. But most of what we do now is neurology. In our portfolio, many programs are rare. We had our first orphan designation ever in 21. Now we have 8 of those, and several other special designations. We have got this orphan or designation across the world, Europe, US, other places, Sakigake in Japan. So we get those higher end value stamps also in our pipeline, much more. And we go to regulators several times a year and do all these things. So the pipeline is doing well. So we're not desperate to plugging a hole. We are happy to find something that fits very nicely with our strategy.
Makes sense.
Rare disease, specialist neurology, and if we can, maybe something in psychiatry.
Yeah, wonderful. So I've got 3 rapid fire questions
Okay.
I'm posing to guests. So
Okay.
hopefully you'll entertain me.
Yeah.
1, AI.
Yeah. Big topic. We could spend a lot of time about it. We focus on 4 areas in R&D. Then, of course, the company, we're educating everyone. We do the usual, are we a leader? No. Are we an IT company? No. We're a pharma company. But we are kind of middle of the pack, but we like to push this. And being small means that you can, smallish, means that you can do these things quicker. We have AI in research. We are finding molecules, small molecules. We have partnerships, collaborations in that space. I'm not too worried about research. Researchers like to do this stuff and they acquire technologies and they love that stuff. The other area, which is very pedestrian, but you need to get your data fair, if you know the terminology.
Yes,
we need
absolutely.
to find our data and at the end it has to be usable, right? And we have invested so we make sure that our data are fair, or at least fairish across the organization.
As much as you can, yeah.
As much as we can, because that's the fundamental infrastructure to be able to do the next thing that we also invest in, generative AI, of course, right? Writing documents for protocols and everything, and that's where you really can cut down time, review timelines. And has anyone yet submitted an NDA, fully generative AI made? Probably not. I'm asking around. One person claimed they have done it, but when I pressure tested that, it was not entirely true. But we're soon there.
I think INDs maybe have probably gone in.
INDs, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but-
And we are at the stage when we like our clinical reports to get there. So we are building it piece by piece. This will take some time, but that's high priority for us. And the last one is really, really important. The clinical trial infrastructure. That's from tracking the trials, but also all the measures we do. I like to, some companies have that more or less, the cockpit of the clinical trial, where everything comes in real time and you can follow. The trials are still very handicrafted. And I say AI guided drug discovery is going to be super easy because there are no caregivers. Molecules don't have caregivers. They don't take vacation. They don't get sick for other reasons. Our clinical trials are still human beings with all these elements. But there's things around it we can do much more efficiently with AI and tie it all together in quick, talking about decision making, have objective data coming in. I love Bayesian statistics. I love running smart trials with adaptive designs. The more advanced trials we do, the more informative they are, the more we also need to be fast and nimble and get the data fast. And interim analysis is get the data fast, look at it so you can change, right? All these things are very important and AI will be fundamental there.
Amazing. Next one, China.
Oh, that, we are not big in China. We haven't been there a long time. We have a commercial group there. We have a development group, but obviously we're looking very carefully there. A lot of innovation coming out, great molecules, a lot of biotech, new companies, and we are in that arena. We actually out-licensed a few of our molecules to Chinese companies. They're actually running trials in actually Alzheimer and also in schizophrenia for things that we didn't do. And the molecule have those molecules have second lives in China. So it's bi-directional also for us.
That's amazing. Last one, rare disease.
Yeah, you heard already. We have quite a bit in our pipeline. There's many reasons why one should be in rare diseases. I know it's been popular for quite some years, and some big pharmas went there and actually left also a little bit. I think company ours are ideally suited. All these special destination regulatory pathways, more contact with regulators, often cheaper programs, but it's also very demanding. It's high-touch clinical trial models. You have to really handhold the patients and be there. So more demanding on clinical operations and executing trials. But that gets you also closer to the patients,
100%.
which is a sad thing in R&D. You rarely see a patient. So we do a lot of let the patient speak event. We bring in all these representatives for different diseases, and we spend a lot of time educating ourselves about the reason why we're here. And that is, of course, the patient. And we have done this for years, and sometimes you have some kind of eureka moment when you talk to patients. Is that your problem? We thought you were worried about this.
100%. And well, I think, when you mentioned that, we probably interact with both drug developers as well as with patient families, and you can see the whites of their eyes and the commitment of passion when you're working rare disease. I know you're kind of in this space because of sort of a personal story and experience. Would love to kind of hear what motivates you to do the work that you do despite the difficulties and the politics and the challenges. Love to hear more.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, people sometimes say, why are you in neuroscience? It's so hard. Lundbeck has been in neuroscience for 70 years. That makes us really unique.
Mm-hmm.
And
consistently throughout that
consistently stayed in neuroscience. I've been meeting a lot of investors that say you should be in oncology, etc. I educate people that oncology is probably harder. Attrition rate is hard, right? And now people see this. So now when I talk about neuroscience, everyone says, yeah, we know that for a long time. Neuroscience is full of horrible diseases. And if we can do something about those diseases, that would be fabulous. The brain, affecting the brain by a disease, makes us different human beings. Often less good, sometimes a human being that's dying, and it's often quite horrible pathways to death. So brain is so fundamental for who we are as human beings. I have a personal journey, yes. My passion has for a long, long time been in Alzheimer's disease. I've been part of 2 full drug approvals in Alzheimer's disease. Disease modifying and symptomatic together with Otsuka now for very horrible symptoms. My grandmother died in Alzheimer's disease. My mother did that. I have 2 daughters. It probably runs in the female side of the family. And probably my great-grandmother or great-granddad also had it. So it's a common disease, but I was the primary caregiver more or less for my mom. So I was on that journey all the time. I also worked on the clinical side, drug development side, but that's really what's driving me a lot. That's why I've done a lot in the Alzheimer field. Also stroke in the family. We don't have childhood diseases really in the family, genetic or something, that really personal journey. But everyone who has a child and can identify with those problems, and I'm sure you have your own story, right? Doing something for childhood rare diseases, I mean, gosh, if we could do a little bit, so we help them reduce seizures, reduce the risk of sudden death or whatever it is, I mean, that would be amazing. We have a phase 3 trial going in multiple system atrophy. That's the most horrible disease you can think in neuroscience, together with maybe ALS.
Yeah.
Rapidly progressing. It's not a nice way to fade away. If we could do something in delaying that journey or even make it less cumbersome, that would be fabulous. And that's why we're in this business.
Amazing. Well, I feel like we wish you all the best, and obviously are excited to see both how the pipeline and the science evolves. And I hope also many of your peers start to adopt some of the same foci on solid decision-making that helps enable organizations to bring these medicines to patients. So as a rare disease parent, very much are grateful for the effort and the focus here, and hope to continue to be in touch and have you on the podcast again soon.
Thank you very much for the invite. And I'm happy to talk what we do, because at the end of our conversation here about patients, this is what what makes us tick, right? So I'm happy to talk about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you all for attending our first podcast video recording. So thank you.
Thank you.